Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observatory window of the Titan research station, her eyes fixed on the endless starfield before her. The quantum readings on her tablet made no sense. They hadn't for the past 3 weeks. It was as if someone had drawn an invisible curtain around our solar system, and the rest of the galaxy had simply vanished behind it. Dr. Chen, the voice of her research partner, Dr. James Rodriguez, broke through her concentration. The AI analysis is complete. You're going to want to see this. Sarah turned from the window, her reflection ghosting against the backdrop of Saturn's rings. The expression on James's face told her everything she needed to know. Whatever they'd found, it would change everything. A holographic display flickered to life in the center of the observatory, filling the space with a complex web of interconnected data points. At first glance, it looked like a standard map of known quantum communications channels, but something was different. The usual chittering of alien transmissions, the background noise they'd grown accustomed to over the past 50 years of contact, was completely absent. It's not just radio silence, James said, his voice barely above a whisper. Look at the quantum signature patterns. They're being actively redirected. Something is isolating us from the rest of the galaxy. Sarah's fingers danced across her tablet, bringing up historical data. How long? That's the thing, James replied, expanding a particular section of the hologram. According to these readings, it's been happening gradually for years. We just never noticed because the system was smart enough to maintain a fake background signal. But 3 weeks ago, the quantum fold experiment, Sarah finished. Their attempt to create a new form of FTL communication must have disrupted whatever system was keeping them hidden. The door to the observatory slid open with a soft hiss, admitting Admiral Helena Torres. The head of Earth's Defense Force cut an imposing figure in her crisp uniform, her dark eyes scanning the holographic display with practiced efficiency. Give me the short version, Torres commanded. Sarah took a deep breath. Someone, or something, has been quarantining Earth from the rest of the galaxy. Based on these readings, it's been going on for at least a decade, maybe longer. The system appears to be powered by technology far beyond our current understanding. Hostile. That's the strange part, James interjected, pulling up another data set. The quarantine isn't designed to keep things out. It's designed to keep us in. But more importantly, it's protecting our quantum signatures from being detected by something else. Torres's expression hardened. Explain. Sarah pointed to a cluster of data points. We've detected traces of what we believe to be automated defense systems at the edge of our solar system. They're not just blocking communications, they're actively camouflaging our technological signature. It's as if something wants to keep us hidden. From what? We don't know, Sarah admitted, but we found this. She pulled up a final image, a decoded quantum signal they'd captured during the fold experiment. It contained just 3 words, repeated over and over in ancient galactic standard. They must survive, Admiral, Sarah said, her voice steady despite the weight of her next words. I don't think we were abandoned by the galaxy. I think we're being preserved. Torres was silent for a long moment, her reflection joining Sarah's in the window. Beyond the glass, Saturn's rings continued their eternal dance, oblivious to the revelation that humanity's place in the galaxy was far more complex, and perhaps far more important, than anyone had imagined. How many people know about this? Torres finally asked. Just us 3, James replied. We wanted to verify our findings before. A warning klaxon cut through the air, its harsh tone filling the observatory. Red emergency lights began to pulse as the station's AI announced. Wo arn ing. QUNTUN 8NOBEN Unknown Signature APPROHH Solar System. Sarah rushed to her console, her fingers flying over the controls. The holographic display shifted, showing a massive disturbance at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. Whatever had been keeping Earth hidden was responding to something. Something big. It's some kind of automated defense grid, Sarah reported, her voice tense. It's activating all around the solar system. Can you shut it down? Torres demanded. That's just it, Sarah replied, looking up from her console with a mix of awe and fear. I don't think we're supposed to. Whatever this system is, it's been protecting us from something out there. And I think that something just found us. As if in response to her words, the quantum readings spiked dramatically. Through the observatory window, they watched as pinpoints of light began to appear in the distance, the defense grid powering up, preparing to defend humanity from a threat they didn't even know existed. The irony wasn't lost on Sarah. They had spent weeks trying to figure out why the galaxy had abandoned them, only to discover that they hadn't been abandoned at all. They had been chosen, protected, preserved. But for what? The answer to that question would have to wait. Right now, they had more immediate concerns. Whatever was approaching their solar system was about to discover that humanity's quarantine wasn't a prison. It was a fortress, and its defenders were waking up. Admiral, Sarah said, her voice firm, I think it's time we found out exactly what we're being protected from. Torres nodded grimly. Send word to Earth. All Defense Force personnel are to be recalled immediately. And Dr. Chen. Yes, Admiral. Whatever's coming, whatever this system is protecting us from, we need to be ready. Humanity didn't come this far to hide behind someone else's walls. As the warning klaxons continued to sound, Sarah couldn't help but smile. Even in the face of an unknown threat, humanity's first instinct wasn't to cower behind their protective barrier. It was to understand it, to master it, to make it their own. Perhaps that was why they had been chosen. Perhaps that was why they needed to survive. The game was about to change, and humanity was finally ready to play. 3 months after the discovery of the quantum barrier, the Titan research station had transformed from a quiet scientific outpost into humanity's foremost defense research center. The observatory where Sarah had first detected the anomaly now housed the most advanced quantum computing array ever built by human hands. The defensive grid is evolving, Sarah announced to the assembled team of scientists and military personnel. The holographic display showed a real-time visualization of the barrier surrounding their solar system, its complexity now far beyond what they had initially observed. It's not just responding to our presence anymore. It's learning from us. Admiral Torres stood at the back of the room, her uniform bearing new insignia that reflected her role as commander of Earth's Unified Defense Initiative. Explain the patterns you're seeing, Doctor. Sarah manipulated the display, highlighting specific nodes within the barrier structure. The grid is incorporating elements of our quantum fold technology. It's as if it's upgrading itself using our research as a template. But here's the fascinating part. It's not just copying our work, it's improving upon it. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward, adding his own data to the display. We've detected similar adaptations in other areas. The barrier isn't just a wall. It's a living system, designed to evolve alongside the civilization it's protecting. But protecting us from what? The question came from Dr. Maya Patel, the newest addition to their team, and an expert in xenorchaeology. She had spent the past month analyzing patterns in the barrier's base code, searching for clues about its creators. We might have an answer to that, Maya continued, pulling up her own data set. I've been comparing the quantum signatures we detected during the initial incident with historical records from other civilizations. There's a pattern here, but it's not what we expected. The hologram shifted, showing a timeline of known galactic civilizations. Red markers indicated points where contact had been lost with various species. Every civilization that reached our current level of quantum technology developments suddenly went dark. Not just quiet, completely disappeared, except for one. She highlighted a particular data point, the Arxer Collective. They were the most advanced civilization we knew of, pioneers in quantum mechanics and artificial intelligence. They'd vanished from galactic communications approximately 50,000 years ago, right around the time this barrier system seems to have been created. Admiral Torres frowned. You think the Arxer built this? I think they built it to save us, Maya replied. Look at these code fragments we extracted from the barrier. They're written in a base mathematical language that matches what we know of Arxer technology. But here's the crucial part. The system isn't just protecting us, it's testing us. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as the implications became clear. The quantum fold experiment. The barrier didn't just detect it, it was waiting for it. This whole system, it's some kind of preservation program. Preservation for what purpose? Torres asked, though her tone suggested she already suspected the answer. War, James said quietly. The Arxer knew something was coming, something that had already destroyed other civilizations. They built this system not just to hide us, but to prepare us. The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. Through the observatory window, Saturn's rings still shone, but now they seemed less like a natural wonder and more like a reminder of how much they still didn't understand about the universe. There's more, Sarah added, her voice steady despite the gravity of what she was about to reveal. The quantum signatures we detected 3 months ago. They're back, and they're stronger. Whatever's out there isn't just passing by anymore. It's searching. Torres straightened, her decision already made. Then we need to be ready when it finds us. Dr. Chen, I want you and your team to focus on understanding this barrier technology. If it's meant to prepare us, then let's make sure we learn everything it has to teach. What about the Earth governments? James asked. They're still demanding answers about our isolation. Tell them the truth, Torres replied. Tell them humanity wasn't abandoned. We were chosen. And now it's time to prove why. As the meeting dispersed, Sarah remained at her console, studying the ever-shifting patterns of the quantum barrier. The technology was incredible, yes, but it was more than that. It was a message from an ancient civilization, a warning and a gift wrapped in layers of quantum mechanics and artificial intelligence. The Arxer had seen something coming, something terrible enough to make them hide away promising civilizations like specimens in a cosmic museum. But they hadn't just hidden humanity. They had given them tools, challenges, and time to grow stronger. Now that time was running out. Through her console, Sarah monitored the increasing quantum disturbances at the edge of their solar system. Whatever was searching for them was getting closer, more persistent. The barrier was holding, but for how long? And more importantly, when it finally failed, would humanity be ready for what lay beyond? As if in answer to her unspoken question, a new alert flashed across her screen. The barrier wasn't just adapting anymore. It was beginning to unlock new sections of its code, revealing technologies and concepts that made their current understanding of quantum mechanics look primitive by comparison. The silent revolution was about to become very loud indeed. The quantum lab deep within Titan Research Station hummed with energy as Sarah Chen stared at the results of their latest analysis. After 6 months of studying the barrier's code, they had finally managed to decrypt one of its deeper layers. What they found had left her sleepless for days. It's not just a defense system, she explained to Admiral Torres and her team. It's an archive of extinction events. The holographic display showed a series of stellar maps, each marked with points of light representing civilizations that had vanished. The pattern was unmistakable, like a wave of darkness sweeping across the galaxy, leaving only silence in its wake. The Arxer didn't just disappear, Maya added, highlighting specific data points. They scattered. But before they did, they left these preservation spheres across the galaxy, each one protecting a species they thought might have the potential to survive what they couldn't. James manipulated the display, zooming in on their solar system. We've identified 47 other barrier systems like ours. Each one contains a different civilization, each at a crucial point in their technological development. But here's the thing. We're the only ones who've managed to detect our barrier, let alone begin to understand it. Admiral Torres studied the data with a grim expression. And the threat? Have we identified what caused all these extinctions? Sarah took a deep breath. We think so. The Arxer left records. fragments of their final observations. They called it the Void Cascade. It's not a species or an empire. It's something far worse. The display shifted, showing complex quantum equations and energy patterns. It's a wave of entropy acceleration, Sarah explained. Somehow, something or someone created a cascading effect that accelerates the heat death of space itself. Wherever it touches, molecular bonds begin to break down. Stars die millennia before their time. Planets crumble. Life becomes impossible. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just a war for survival. It was a fight against the death of reality itself. But there's hope, Maya interjected, her voice firm. The Arxer found a way to create these stable pockets, these preservation spheres. They couldn't stop the cascade, but they could shield certain regions from its effects. They chose specific civilizations to preserve, based on certain characteristics. What characteristics? Torres asked. Adaptability, creativity, resilience. Maya pulled up more data, but most importantly, unpredictability. The Arxer believed that the only way to stop the cascade was to find species that could think beyond conventional physics, species that could imagine solutions that their own highly logical minds couldn't conceive. That's why they chose us, James added. Human consciousness, our way of thinking. It's fundamentally different from most advanced species. Where they saw patterns, we see possibilities. Where they followed logic, we make intuitive leaps. Sarah nodded. The quantum fold experiment proved it. We approached quantum mechanics from an angle the Arxer had never considered. That's why the barrier responded so strongly. We had passed the first test. A warning tone interrupted their discussion. Sarah rushed to her console, her fingers flying over the controls. The disturbances are back, stronger than ever. Whatever's out there, it's not just searching anymore. It's trying to get in. The station's lights flickered as energy surged through the barrier. Through the observatory window, they could see strange distortions in space itself, areas where the stars seemed to dim and waver. The cascade, Sarah whispered. It's found us. But something was different this time. The barrier wasn't just defending. It was changing, incorporating elements of human quantum theory into its structure. Where the cascade touched, instead of failing, the barrier adapted, creating new patterns of defense that seemed to draw strength from their very unpredictability. Look at this, Maya called out, pointing to new data streaming across her screen. The barrier isn't just using our theories. It's combining them with Arxer technology in ways neither of us could have conceived alone. It's creating something entirely new. Admiral Torres watched the display with intense focus. Can we replicate this effect? Expand it? Maybe, Sarah replied, her mind racing with possibilities. But we'd need more power, more understanding of how human consciousness interfaces with quantum systems. And most importantly, we'd need. She stopped mid-sentence as new alerts flashed across her screen. The barrier wasn't just adapting anymore. It was transforming, revealing new layers of code and technology. And embedded within them was a message, written in that same ancient mathematical language. The time is gone. You are ready. The message continued, unfolding into a vast repository of Arxer knowledge, everything they had learned about the cascade, every theory they had developed, every failed attempt at stopping it. But it wasn't just information. It was an invitation. They didn't just preserve us, Sarah realized, her voice filled with awe. They were waiting for us to evolve into something new, something that could succeed where they failed. The quantum disturbances intensified, the cascade pressing harder against their protective sphere. But now, with the combined knowledge of two civilizations and humanity's unique way of thinking, they had a fighting chance. The question was, were they ready to use it? The emergency meeting of Earth's Unified Council was held virtually, with representatives from every nation gathered to hear a truth that would reshape humanity's understanding of their place in the cosmos. Admiral Torres stood before the quantum-linked displays, her voice steady as she explained what they had discovered on Titan. The barrier around our solar system isn't a prison, she concluded. It's an inheritance, and now we face a choice that will determine not just our future, but the future of all life in the galaxy. Sarah Chen watched from her station on Titan as the council members absorbed this information. Their expressions ranged from disbelief to determination, but none showed fear. Humanity had come too far to succumb to that now. Dr. Chen, one of the council members, asked, "You believe we can actually fight this cascade?" Sarah stepped forward, sharing her screen with the council. The Arxer were logical, methodical. They tried to fight entropy with pure mathematics, treating it as an equation to be solved. But entropy isn't just math. It's chaos, unpredictability, something they couldn't fully grasp. She pulled up the latest data from their quantum experiments. But humans, we thrive on chaos. Where they saw disorder, we see patterns. Where they sought perfect solutions, we find workable ones. Our quantum fold technology proves it. We approached the problem from an angle they never considered. And now, James added, joining the discussion, we have their knowledge combined with our intuition. The barrier is already showing us what's possible when we merge these approaches. The display shifted to show their latest breakthrough, a quantum matrix that combined Arxer precision with human creativity. Where the cascade touched it, instead of decay, they saw renewal. It wasn't stopping entropy so much as redirecting it, using its own chaos against itself. We can't stop the cascade entirely, Sarah explained, but we might be able to reshape it, create safe zones like the Arxer did, but on a larger scale, not just preserving life, but giving it room to grow, to evolve. And the other preserved civilizations? Another council member asked. What about them? Maya stepped forward, her expertise in xenorchaeology lending weight to her words. We've detected 47 other barrier systems, each protecting a different species, each chosen for their unique characteristics. Together, we might be able to. A sudden alert cut through the discussion. Sarah's screens flashed with warning signals as new data poured in. The cascade is changing its approach, she reported, fingers flying over her controls. It's not just pressing against our barrier anymore, it's learning. Through the observatory window, they could see it now. Areas of space where the stars seemed to blur and shift, as if reality itself was coming undone. The barrier held, but the strain was visible in the quantum readings. We don't have much time, Admiral Torres announced to the council. The Arxer gave us this knowledge because they believe we could use it. Now we have to decide. Do we stay hidden in our protective bubble, preserving ourselves but watching the galaxy die around us? Or do we take what we've learned and fight? The council chamber fell silent as the weight of the decision pressed down on them. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about responsibility, about becoming something more than they had been. Sarah watched the quantum readings, seeing how the barrier adapted and changed, incorporating more of their innovations with each passing moment. It wasn't just a shield anymore. It was becoming a template for something new, something that neither humans nor Arxer could have created alone. There's something else you should see, she said, pulling up a new data set. We've been analyzing the cascade's behavior, and we've noticed something. It's not just random entropy. There's a pattern to it, almost like it's being directed, James finished, his eyes widening as he saw the data. The cascade isn't a natural phenomenon. Someone or something is controlling it. The implications hit the room like a physical force. This wasn't just a fight against entropy. It was a fight against an intelligence that had found a way to weaponize the heat death of the universe itself. All the more reason to act, Torres said firmly. If this is an orchestrated attack, then there's an attacker. And if there's an attacker, they can be stopped. The council members looked at each other, a silent communication passing between them. Then, one by one, they began to nod. Humanity has never been good at hiding, the council president said finally, or at accepting limitations. Dr. Chen, What do you need to expand your quantum matrix? Sarah felt a smile spread across her face. This was why the Arxer had chosen them. Not because they were perfect, but because they were stubborn. Because they looked at the impossible and saw a challenge rather than a barrier. Everything, she replied. Give us everything. It's time to show the galaxy why humanity was worth preserving. As if in response to her words, the barrier pulsed with new energy, its quantum structure shifting to accommodate their decision. The Arxer had given them the tools. Now it was time to use them in ways their creators had never imagined. The Cascade was about to learn why you should never back humans into a corner, even one as large as the universe itself. The quantum core of Titan Station pulsed with energy as Sarah Chen made the final adjustments to their newly constructed array. After weeks of non-stop work, humanity had transformed their protective barrier into something the Arxer could never have imagined. A quantum bridge. All preservation spheres are responding, Maya announced, monitoring the signals they were broadcasting to the other hidden civilizations. 47 barriers, 47 species, all waiting for our signal. Admiral Torres stood at the main control station, watching as humanity prepared for its boldest move yet. Status of the Cascade. Still pressing against our barrier, James reported, his eyes fixed on the readings. But now we can see what's really happening. The entropy effect isn't random. It's being channeled, focused. Someone's using the natural heat death of the universe as a weapon. Sarah nodded, making a final adjustment to the quantum matrix. And that's exactly why they'll never expect what we're about to do. The Arxer tried to fight entropy with order. We're going to fight it with chaos. Through the observatory window, they could see the distortions in space growing stronger. The Cascade was no longer just testing their defenses. It was preparing for a full assault. But this time, they were ready. All stations report ready, Torres announced. Dr. Chen, you have a go. Sarah took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the activation control. Everything they had learned, everything they had built, had led to this moment. Initiating quantum resonance in 3, 2, 1. She pressed the control, and for a moment, everything seemed to stop. The quantum core surged with power as their modified barrier began to change. Instead of just defending against the Cascade, it reached out, connecting with the other preservation spheres scattered across the galaxy. Connection established, Maya called out. All 47 barriers are responding. The quantum bridge is forming. On their screens, they watched as something unprecedented took shape. Each preserved civilization had developed differently during their isolation, finding unique approaches to quantum mechanics and energy manipulation. Now, through the bridge humanity had built, all of that knowledge, all of those different perspectives, began to flow together. The Cascade is reacting, James reported urgently. It's pulling back. Whatever's controlling it didn't expect this. Sarah smiled grimly. Of course not. They'd been using entropy as a weapon, forcing the universe to wind down faster than it should. But they never considered what would happen if multiple civilizations, each with their own unique understanding of quantum mechanics, worked together. Through the quantum bridge, they could feel it. The combined consciousness of 48 species, each contributing their unique perspective to a solution that none of them could have devised alone. Where the Arxer had seen only mathematical precision, humans had seen creative possibility. Where other species had developed ways to manipulate energy, redirect force, or transcend traditional physics, humans had found a way to bring it all together. Energy levels are off the charts, Maya reported. The quantum bridge is amplifying everything. Each barrier isn't just protecting its civilization anymore. They're all reinforcing each other. On their screens, they watched as the Cascade's attack faltered. The force that had been destroying civilizations for millennia suddenly found itself facing something new. A quantum network that didn't just resist entropy, but redirected it, used it, transformed it. We're detecting the source, James shouted. The Cascade. It's being controlled from a point at the galaxy's edge. Some kind of artificial structure. Send the coordinates to all connected species, Torres ordered. It's time to show whoever's behind this what happens when you push the galaxy too far. Through the quantum bridge, they could feel the response. 48 civilizations, each emerging from their protective barriers, each adding their unique strengths to the counterattack. The Cascade tried to adapt, tried to find new ways to accelerate entropy, but it was too late. The combined knowledge of 48 species, led by humanity's unconventional approach, had changed the rules of the game. Where the Cascade tried to force chaos, they created harmony. Where it attempted to accelerate the universe's heat death, they found ways to redirect that energy, to use it, to transform it into something new. The structure at the galaxy's edge, Sarah reported, watching the readings with growing amazement. It's not just controlling the Cascade. It's ancient, older than the Arxur, older than any civilization we know of. Someone has been trying to end the universe for a very, very long time. Not anymore, Torres said firmly. Maya, signal all connected species. It's time to pay them a visit. As the quantum bridge pulsed with the combined power of 48 civilizations, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. The Arxur had preserved them not because they were perfect, but because they were different. They had seen in humanity the potential for something new, the ability to take disparate pieces and forge them into something greater than the sum of their parts. The stars seemed brighter now, as if the universe itself was responding to their defiance. The Cascade had meant to end everything, to accelerate the universe's journey toward entropy. Instead, it had united the galaxy's preserved civilizations, creating something that had never existed before. A coalition of species, each unique, each valuable, all working together. Signal from the quantum bridge, Maya announced. All species are ready. They're waiting for our lead. Sarah looked at Admiral Torres, who nodded. This was why humanity had been chosen. Not because they were the strongest or the smartest, but because they could see possibilities where others saw only problems. Because they refused to accept the end of everything as inevitable. Send the signal, Sarah said. It's time to show whoever's behind this that the universe isn't ending today. It's just getting started. As their combined fleets moved toward the galaxy's edge, Sarah felt a sense of certainty. Whatever they found there, whatever ancient force had tried to end everything, they would face it together. Humanity had refused to fall when they thought they were abandoned. Now, united with 47 other civilizations, they were about to show the galaxy why. The rising had begun. And this time, entropy itself would have to take a step back.